Dude, my live actually just not got banned, but it got restricted because I actually forgot to change the topic from gaming to chatting or something like that. So man, come on. I mean, this is wild, dude. The TikTok algorithm and everything. It's insane. All right, I hope I won't get like a problem again, but I mean, we'll see what we're gonna do, and I hope there won't be any much problems. So, guys, I'm gonna start over again. Um, so we're gonna start talking about the Ottomans, but I like specifically want to talk about the period between here and then here. So beginning from like the Second Siege of Vienna and to the Treaty of Sèvres, right? So, couple things actually. Today I won't take up much of your time. So this is not about like a general Ottoman video. This is like a, in my opinion, as a Turkish guy and as like an history lover and also like a paradox player. This is my view about like how the empire fell, right? All right. So let me check the stream again. All right, we're live on TikTok. If anybody is watching later on YouTube, come join us. All right, so couple things. Why did the Ottomans rise is basically about not technology, like their manpower, their like administrative system, they and their logistical like expertise, and also they were like the uh, probably the only nation who from the east, uh, from Orient, that was able to actually uh, catch up with the West for a certain extent. But at one point, West the Great Divergence. This is called, I think, in like historical terms. Yeah, that like the big gap happened, right? And we call it in Turkish like büyük makas açılması, which is like the great divergence, like the big gap. With the scissor, you say it. So all right, guys. So the basic problems, in my opinion, about the Ottoman Empire back in the day, in like after like from starting from like this 18th century, let's say, like 1700s. All right. So the biggest problem, and this is why I should say to people like everybody should play EU4, everybody should play Hearts of Fire, and like Victoria 3. I mean, if you play those games, you might have like a clearer understanding. I mean, of course, you're not gonna learn anything, everything from a game, but I mean, you will get like this sense of like curiosity, like you might actually understand how to like use economy, not economy, like understand like some basic economical concepts, maybe. So I think games should be like a mandatory system for actually helping people to learn, especially history. I mean, the thing is actually you're probably not gonna learn much about playing a game, but you're gonna learn like this general mentality, I think. So, all right. So, couple things. The problem is actually with the Ottoman decline was the back in the world actually used to be like from east, right? Like China, um, India. Oh my God, India, China, and also like the Levant, the Turkish controlled area, and Persia, right? So the biggest riches were here. But after the discovery of the New World, something different happened. The world map was here, then it got here, right? So the problem with that is all of these like great big nations are like in Europe, basically. They were not like forced to actually take these goods like pepper, like salt, like these other like exotic goods, let's say. Uh, it was too expensive for them because the Ottomans would like put some tax, and everybody else on the way would put some tax actually. But then after they discovered the New World, it's like a big, extremely big like land. Basically, not many people on it, and it was free for them because the Native Americans didn't have any technology, right? So it was like a free ride for especially the Spaniards and first the Spaniards, the Portuguese, and so on. Rise MW. What's that mean, brother? Rise MW. I don't know what that means. All right, so this is basically like the one of the reasons why the Ottomans declined. Actually, brother, welcome. One of the reasons. So they're actually like science is basically like maybe the same actually reason. All right. The science part is, look, I'm gonna give you an example, guys. So the problem was back in the day, actually, with horses, with like good logistical systems and everything, you were able to actually. So your live is not eligible for recommendation and restricted in search results because it contains unoriginal or reproduced content. This is the line with the TikTok live, guys. What's the fuck is this about? Why is my life not like restricted? I don't understand why. I mean, I'm confused about this. Why am I getting flagged like shadow banned or something like that on TikTok? Why is this happening? I have no idea, but I'm gonna continue. Oh God. All right. Anyway, so the science problem was insane. So at one point, actually, the Europeans, especially like the Western Europeans, were like developing a lot of things, like uh, not only using rifles, let's say, but they're like volley fire, these kind of like different tactics, and especially like what Germans did after, it was insane. And then what happened is this like uh, mercantilism, and after that the Industrial Revolution, and the people and in like the Turkish Empire weren't reading at all. I mean, it was the same in Egypt. It was the same, relatively same in Persia and so on. But for example, Japan is an Eastern nation as well, but Japan actually industrialized and modernized rapidly, right? So the thing about that was actually Japan was like a uh, reading nation, let's say, right? They were reading, and Europe as well. So once you got like the technological buffs, let's say, and also the problem with like the taking goods, necessary goods, like they had to actually rely the Ottomans back then, but after the discovery of the New World, they didn't have to, right? And this actually, all of these led to, and also they had like this time like philosophy, these like new ideas about like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, all these like great works, like the parliaments, human rights, and everything. So the basically, it's not only militarily or like diplomatically, it's like it's socially as well. The West actually this great divergence led to the collapse of the Ottomans because like the elites, like the ruling class were, of course, they were actually thinking about, yeah, we should probably catch up. But I mean, uh, they had to fight with the ulema. They had to fight with like local agas, like lords, let's say. And also the main problem was actually people were illiterate, and even though like they tried to modernize, like it's so hard like in like couple generations to actually catch. I mean, for example, the Germany industrialized rapidly, right? But Germans actually were like a literate nation, literate people, right? And like this Protestant ethic and everything. So the Ottomans had a problem, and also unlike the Germans, for example, they had a lot of different minorities in them, and the minority populations, and like with the biggest one of the other biggest reasons is the Russian Empire, right? So what happened was actually, yeah, European powers like the French, the Bismarck, and like Great Britain actually wanted to help, and like they we helped. They helped us in like the Crimean War, and we beat the Russians. But I mean, Russia basically, every one of you guys know it, right? Russia had this idea to actually go into the like the warm seas and then go on from there, right? But the problem is the other European like colonial empires didn't want that because let's say Russia's sphere of influence is in like Iraq, let's say, or Egypt, uh, or even the Dardanelles, the Bosphorus. That could be a potential problem about all of the trade coming from the Suez Canal or like the Persia, from the Persian Gulf and Hormuz and everywhere. So it was like these points were like extremely important choke points. So they had to help the Ottomans. They helped, but the Ottomans were called the sick man of Europe, right? So at one point it had to be like, and in the First World War, like you should see the map, guys. All right, let me see the. I think there's a First World War. Yeah, this is at the Balkan Wars. I mean, you see, like they don't even have Bulgaria. Most of Serbia is lost. The Egypt is lost to the British, I think. Uh, Not one foot in like the Crimean Peninsula, Romania, Greece, of course, and yeah. So like the biggest thing they could have done was to actually save like the modern day Turkish Republic, and they did it. And I mean, it's a great achievement. They've done this after like Treaty of Sevres, where like the European colonial powers actually dismantled the Turkish nation. And then like my great grandfather and like a lot of like millions of great Turkish people actually fought against like these like imperialist powers, and like they beat up the Westerners, right? But what Atatürk done is basically like he actually he was a great man, one of the greatest people that ever lived, and also he had a lot of like how do you say this? Inspiration from Mahmud II. So around Mahmud II's time, he actually made a lot of like tanzimat, we call tanzimat, which is like there are two tanzimat reforms, I think, and like he tried to constitutionalize the empire, modernize a lot of things, give like non-Muslims rights, and protect the like all the minorities, and yeah, but his vision was so great, and he abolished the unitary system and everything. But the problem was the Russian threat, man. I mean, imagine living in like the 19th century Istanbul, Constantinople. The problem was, even the Sultan tried his best, and most of the sultans did. I mean, every 10 years or every 5 years, you have like these Russian wars, right? And like at the end of after the Crimean War, the Ottomans never recovered, and you see the remnants. Like they had to join the First World War, and because otherwise the winning nations would have actually probably attacked them. So that's my main idea about this. But I mean, it's so interesting. Like, I seldom imagine actually what would happen if like the Ottoman Empire survived. Like, would actually most of the provinces in Iraq, Azerbaijan, maybe like the Hejaz. Um, it's so interesting, and especially the Balkans. Balkans are so interesting because like Ottomans basically ruled most of the Balkans more than they ruled a lot of places in Anatolia. For example, I'm from Adana, and my hometown was conquered by the Ottomans in like 16th century. But for example, Skopje, where I live right now in Macedonia, it was conquered in like 1270, something like that. It was in the 13th century. Like no, sorry. I think it was in the 14th century. 14th, I think. I might be wrong about that. Yeah, but it is before like the conquest of Constantinople, right? So yeah, basically that's my main point of view. So I mean, the decline is economic, it's diplomatic, and it's social. It's about reforms. It's about human rights. Everything. It's about controlling, not being able to actually control, like these Ottomans were extremely decentralized. They had to rely on a lot of local actually governors like Egypt, like Kavalalı Mehmet Ali Pasha, which rebelled actually. So it wasn't extreme like super centralized like the Russian Tsardom or the French, let's say. And that was a big problem to actually initiate the reforms. That was a really big problem for the sultans basically. But yeah, they tried their best, and the remnants and the echoes of the tried Turkish Revolution and the Young Turk movement and everything, the Tanzimat, the modernization period, they all actually gave fruit and led to the birth of the Turkish Republic under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, which all of the people in Turkey are still grateful. And yeah, I mean, that's such an interesting story. And guys, today I was a bit tired, and also TikTok, I think, shadow banned me. I was a bit upset about that. And but yeah, I think it was like a good conversation. I love chatting with you guys. See ya.